Welcome to This Explainer. We all know the name, right? We all know the stories. But today, we're going to deconstruct one of the most persistent cultural touchstones in Western history, the legend of King Arthur. We're stripping back centuries of storytelling to uncover the true origins of this legendary figure, separating the myth from the actual historical texts. So it brings up a massive question. Was there ever a real King Arthur? Honestly, it's a mystery that historians grapple with to this very day. And the difficulty in answering this comes primarily from the fact that the version of this man we think we know is essentially an illusion. It's a mirage built up over centuries. When historians actually look for the man behind the myth, they're searching for someone entirely different from the character we see in movies or read about in classic literature.
When we picture Arthur, we immediately see a regal monarch ruling from a majestic marble-floored Camelot, surrounded by a brotherhood of knights in shining armor. But here's the fascinating truth. This medieval blockbuster was almost entirely invented by 12th century writers like Geoffrey of Monmouth. When experts strip away these layers of romance and magic, they absolutely don't find a king in a glittering castle. Instead, they find a collection of elusive references in early medieval texts that hint at a historical figure, but offer absolutely zero concrete biography.
Let's get right into Section 1, the gritty historical reality.
If a historical Arthur truly existed, he wasn't a king in the medieval sense at all. He was what's known as a dux bellorum, a Romano-British military commander. We're talking about a gritty, mud-stained warlord active in the late 5th or early 6th century. He wasn't holding court at a fancy round table, he was organizing local defenses, just trying to survive in a brutal, unforgiving landscape. To put this into perspective, the 5th century was a period of absolute chaos. First, the Roman legions withdraw, which leaves a massive power vacuum. Almost immediately, Anglo-Saxon tribes begin to migrate and expand across the land. It's literally a terrifying tide of invaders. This forces local British leaders in the early 6th century to organize a desperate military resistance just to survive, and that culminates in events like the decisive Battle of Badon. This is the stage upon which our historical Arthur would have walked, not a kingdom of peace, but a shattered world fighting for its very life.
The historical Arthur is believed to have been one of these commanders who stepped up during this chaos, leading a coalition of British forces to hold back that invading tide. If we look at early texts, specifically the Historia Brittonum, it lists a series of battles where a leader named Arthur supposedly commanded these combined forces. This includes that famous Battle of Badon. However, I want to be super clear here. While these texts exist, the historical veracity of these records remains fiercely debated among scholars. We have hints, we have names jotted down in old manuscripts, but the hard facts, they're incredibly difficult to pin down.
Which brings us to Section 2, adapting the legend.
So, how in the world do we get from a mud-stained Romano-British warlord fighting desperate battles to the legendary, chivalrous King Arthur known around the entire globe? The answer is cultural adaptation. The transformation of Arthur is practically a masterclass in how societies reshape stories to fit their own needs. Arthur's legend acted essentially as a cultural chameleon. Because the historical details were so incredibly sparse, Arthur presented a blank slate. Over the centuries, each generation would take that blank slate and project their own distinct anxieties, hopes, and ideals right onto him. The two biggest shifts happened during the medieval period and the Victorian era.
Think about it like this. In the medieval period, writers took this warlord and completely molded him to fit their ideals. He became the ultimate symbol of chivalry and Christian virtue. He was the idealized version of what a medieval king was supposed to be. But fast forward to the Victorian era, and the Victorians rewrote him completely to fit 19th century values. For them, Arthur represented the absolute peak of national identity and strict moral order. It's the exact same foundational character, but he's completely rewritten to suit the specific cultural needs of the time.
Now let's move into our final part, Section 3, Why King Arthur Endures.
Why has this specific story stuck around for over a millennium, continuously being rewritten and reimagined? Ultimately, whether he was one specific, historical, Romano-British man named Arthur matters a lot less than what he actually became. Arthur exists not as a single historical individual, but as a composite legend. He's a fascinating patchwork of historical memory, medieval romance, Victorian morality, and modern storytelling. Basically, he became way bigger than history itself.
His story serves a profound, deeply human function that completely transcends history. The legend endures by providing a template for leadership, unity, and the enduring hope that even in the darkest of ages, a leader can rise to restore order and protect their people. That is the core of the whole shebang. Whenever a society faces its own dark age or moments of deep uncertainty, the story of Arthur is right there.
It acts as a psychological safety net, a powerful reminder of the enduring hope that protectors will rise when we need them most.
We've seen how medieval writers and the Victorians used Arthur as a mirror for their own societies. So, as we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with a totally fascinating question. What do our current legends reveal about us? When we look at the heroes we're creating and obsessing over today, what modern ideals and hidden anxieties are we projecting onto them? Think about that the next time you dive into a modern hero's journey. Keep questioning the stories we tell.